coming to close to the halfway mark, whelp. So we've had a successful AI, we've confirmed the pregnancy, everything seems to be going on fine. Now we're counting down to the day when she's going to have puppies. So very important that you get this right. If you're having a natural whelp, then you want to make sure that you're around so that if your dog has problems, you can be there to help and intervene. If you're going to do a C-section, it's super critical to get the timing right. And you know, I get involved with people and vets who've made mistakes on literally a weekly basis where the puppies have been taken early and they're premature, they don't have hair on their faces, they've got bird-like eyes bulging out. And I can tell you that in those cases, you will start getting into problems about hour 48 to 72 after birth, where you maybe lose some or all of the puppies. Premature puppies have a very, very hard time. And you wouldn't think it makes a lot of difference, but it's to do with surfactant in their lungs and their ability to transition from being in the womb when they're being fed through a placental connection versus being out in the air where they're breathing oxygen. And you'd think that if they come out and they're breathing okay, that everything's going to be fine. Not the case. Premature puppies will have a hard time. So you've got to get the timing right. So I've got videos, a number of videos that go in great detail on timing C-section. So I'm not going to go into this in great detail right now, but we will just touch on it. So you've already marked your calendar for 61 days from AI, so you know when the approximate due date is. That is not the due date. That is an approximate due date. So the mistake that you can get into is the vet says, come in, you know, you did the AI and he says, I've got you booked for a C-section on November the 30th, based on the fact that you did the AI on, what would that be, September the 30th. Not the right answer. You can be aware that that might be the right time to do the C-section, but it certainly is not guaranteed to be the correct time. So you've got to get these things in order, correct. So what do you expect to see? You expect to see a dog that is, so this is signs of imminent whelp. So I'm just going to go over really quickly. One, not eating food. Refuses all food completely. Probably 24 hours out from going into labor. What we do is we put a bowl with a few pieces of food in it, and then we can come back half an hour later and see if there's still a few pieces of food in it. If there is, she's not eating, we'll leave it like that. If she has eaten that up, we'll give her whatever she wants to eat. We're doing that because we want to find out whether she's refusing food. And by the way, you don't go start feeding her yummy food that she can't refuse when she's going to go through surgery, because we don't want her vomiting while she's intubated. So you're going to hold back food anyway. The moment she acts like she's not wanting any food at all, don't give her any food. Temperature. Take a temperature every day. Make sure you're in the butt with a regular Walmart, cheapo, digital thermometer and stick it in at least a thumb's length in her butt. If you don't stick it in far enough, you get a low reading. Her temperature will be something above or around 100 to start with, and it will slowly go down. And we're looking for a temperature that is 98.9 or less. Or less. That is indicative of puppies within 24 hours. Don't always see it, and sometimes it's a fairly brief drop and you miss it, but this is a good thing to know. If you've had consistent readings of 98.5 for the last 3 days, you're not doing it right, your thermometer's no good. Go get another thermometer. It's not going to be there for days. It's going to be there for 24 hours. All right. Nesting. Typically, dogs that are going to have puppies start nesting. They start nesting maybe half a day from when they're going to start having puppies. You'll see them start nesting, and they'll get more vigorous and more violent with their nesting. It's not just a quick little ruffle up of the corner. It's really digging away on stuff. And a good tip on this is to put some newspaper in a crate, put mum in the crate. You can hear it, you can come back later on and see she's thrashed all the newspaper up, you know what she's been doing. And then the last thing is heavy, continuous panting, or panting that goes on for 20 seconds and stops for a few seconds and starts back up again. That is probably the beginning stages of labor. And of course, actual labor itself is going to be characterized by discharge. You might see, you might see discharge of what's called a mucus plug. You could see that days before whelp. It's kind of a jelly-like clear substance, kind of slightly vanilla-y looking color. You might see it on the ground. You might see it hanging off the back end. it's there to plug up the cervix to stop bacteria going in, and as your cervix starts to open up, it drops out. That's what you're seeing, but it's not an indicator of when you should time your whelp. It's just a fact of the whole process of pregnancy. But if you saw fluid coming out of her that's not pee, that is basically amniotic fluid for a broken sac, time to go to the vet. You can't hang around on this one. If you see a green discharge, this is a placental tear, and if there's a lot of it, time to go to the vet immediately. If you see a bit of a bloody discharge 3 or 4 days beforehand, don't get too worried about this. Take a temperature, make sure her temperature's okay. Just put her on bed rest, and it's probably just a little tear in the placenta, and it's probably nothing to worry about. If you see a back end of her starting to bulge out, that's a puppy coming out. If you see a sac forming out the back end of her, that's a puppy being born. Time to go to the vet if this is going to be a C-section. In all these cases, if you get to a situation where you're seeing a puppy being presented, go get some Vaseline and just take some fingers and put a big dollop of Vaseline all the way up in a vulva as best you can. Get it greased up. That makes a huge difference between a stuck puppy and a puppy that's delivered normally. All right, so hopefully before day 61 has come around, you have been talking to your vet so you can get somebody to schedule you for a C-section if that's what you're going to be doing. And if you're doing a thing like a French Bulldog, we recommend C-sections. It's Christmas Day. It's New Year's Eve. It's the weekend. I mean, there could be all kinds of reasons why you might not be able to get into a vet. You do not want to find that out 3 hours before you're going in. That's not good preparation. So you want to be prepared for this. And the way to be prepared is to have made phone calls and have 1 or 2 vets. I've got 5 that are going to be potentially around, and I've already called up one to say, hey, I think we may need a C-section this Sunday. Will you be around? And if they're not around, then we're going to go to plan B. And we may have a plan C. But you don't want, the plan is we're not doing anything. We're just going to wait and see what happens, because that is a recipe for disaster. If you are in a situation where you were going to have a C-section, but the puppies are being presented before you ever get there, or that you're in a situation where this flat nobody's around, then you've got to take matters into your own hands. And that means you need to have these things on hand. And you should have these things on hand anyway, because you never know when things might go wrong, right? Vaseline, dental floss, scissors, towels, suction bulb, feeding tubes, feeding bottles, alcohol, gloves, warm towels. These should be in a box that you've got a week before this is ever going to happen. So if you get into a tight, you've got them there. And by the way, we sell a puppy care kit for 99 bucks that includes all of that stuff and a lot more. This is going on long too. Let's see, where are we at to now? Yeah, so be part of the process, educate yourself beforehand, have a vet who's available to you if you're going to do a C-section. It's a good idea to have a vet on standby, even if you're doing a natural whelp. So if you get in trouble, somebody can be there to talk you through it. All right, we can take that one off the list. Now we are more than halfway through this, and we're on the home stretch. Hey, thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate people who subscribe to me. It helps me, encourage me to do more of these videos. But do remember, disclaimer here, I am not a vet. I'm not a licensed medical professional. I'm purely a person who's been breeding dogs for the last couple of decades. Any information that you got from this video, use at your own risk. There's nothing implied here, and certainly this should not be used as a substitute for advice from your veterinarian or your medical professional. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more of them. Bye.